will not be easy. The world outside is lifeless. But I made you into the woman that you are so that we could do this together. Mother?
Hey everybody, my name is Jack, and for those of you who don't know me, I am the founder of PosterSpy.com, and today I'm joined by Grant Sputore, the writer and director of I Am Mother. We've got some really exciting posters that we're going to be releasing on the 25th of January, and we're going to have a little bit of a talk about that and also about the film and Grant's own interest in fan art.
Thank you so much for having me here today, if only virtually. It's exciting to get this chance to finally meet Jack. We've been communicating for over a year, I think, by email, putting this poster series together. And this is the first time that we're actually talking face to face, so to speak. And I'm excited that it's happening now as we're about to release these posters for the movie. It's been a great privilege to work with Poster Spy and all of the artists to put this stuff together. I'm a movie fan, but I'm also a movie poster fan. I mean, Jack mentioned it. I have a bit of an interest in making my own movie posters, going back to the earliest days of my career. So yeah, this has been a blast.
I saw on your Instagram that you made a poster for a film recently, like a fan poster.
Yeah, I do a bunch. Before I was able to make a living making films and the like, I was a graphic designer. So, I would do, and completely untrained, I was basically, to wind back the clock even further, I think my dad came home from work one day with a pirate copy of Photoshop. I think it was like Photoshop 3, like not CS, not CC 3.0, just Photoshop 3. And I was a young kid with way too many hours, available to me. And I just started messing around in Photoshop. And so I did my 10,000 hours quite early on without ever going to a graphic design course or something like that. And so I started making some money doing event flyers, which turned into movie posters. Like I did a couple real movie posters like a long time ago when I was young, and I did a few like DVD covers for contacts that I had in the Australian film industry. It was never I wasn't really ever pursuing it for a career, but it was like my backup. Backup's the wrong word, because it was a passion, but it was it was a complementary passion to making of films. Like I was making my own movie posters for movies I hadn't made when I was a young kid. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this sweet Michael Bay riff, and I'm going to do this bombastic action movie, and I make a poster for a movie that exists nowhere but in my mind. So I've always loved movie posters, and I've always dabbled with making them. And then at a certain point, I got to make a few for real. And I've always said that graphic design and skills on Photoshop has been such a massively helpful thing through the process of making commercials and then ultimately movies, because you're able to put together pitch decks and branding materials to sell a project. And then when you're actually doing it, you're able to, do concept art and do composites that show what the set might look like for a commercial. So I've always been staying up with those skills, but at a certain point I wasn't doing posters anymore, except for posters for I Am Mother when that time came around. But I love doing it. So every now and again when I have a bit of time, I'll do a poster for a friend's film if an idea comes to me. So the one that you're talking about was a movie that I was an executive producer on. I'm a friend of the director, and we helped to some small degree to get that movie made. And then his wife actually is an incredible artist in her own right. And I think she won a prize at the Archibald Portrait Competition in Australia, which is the most prestigious and I think the richest portrait competition, if not in the world, certainly in Australia. And she does these hyper-real portraits when she spends hours upon hours of her time painting something. But she did do much quicker, per standards, illustrations of the characters from the film. And I saw them and I was like, this is awesome. And it just reminded me of the old movie posters from the Western era in the 50s, 40s, 50s, a little bit of the 60s. In Hollywood. So I was sort of inspired to do something like that. But I did tone the sort of period camp down a bit because I know the director. quite well, and he would not have appreciated that for his film. So I sort of modernized it a little bit. But there's visual double entendre in that as well. Like the film's called The Furnace, so I took and he talks a lot about the location being this sort of cultural melting pot, like and that the location itself is the furnace, even though the plot of the movie, for those who haven't seen it, is about two outlaws trying to reach a furnace. Hey, surprise, metaphor. The landscape and the world is the furnace. So I did that in the poster. Like, I turned the sort of red and gold sunset of the Australian landscape into a plume of fire that sort of stretches behind the characters. That was about all I offered for that poster, really, because the awesome drawings already existed. I just photo bashed them together, added the flaming landscape and some title treatment. So that was pretty easy and quick to do, and it sort of like just satisfies my desire to make stuff. But I've also started this podcast called the Commentary Cast, which I was talking about before, where I sit down with filmmakers and talk about their movies while we watch the movie together. I'm so grateful to the first couple of filmmakers that came on the show and took a chance to be a part of this experiment, that I made some posters for their work. And that's probably the stuff that I've done most recently that I did invest some time in. I don't know if I've posted them all yet, but I did a pretty banging poster for Gerald's Game, which is Mike Flanagan's film.
Yes.
Which I can share or send to you, and you can flash up on screen, or people can find it on my Instagram at Sputore. And I also did one for Natalie Erica James, Relic. And you'll see time and time again, all of these posters are bloody fucking visual double entendre, actually. I'm a one-trick pony.
It's funny as well that you mentioned like your background with film and design and all that kind of stuff, because I was also very similar in that when I was younger, I also had a pirated copy of Photoshop.
Yeah, sorry, Dobie. I think they let it happen for a long time for this reason. Because now I'm paying through the nose, month in, month out, for Creative Cloud.
for bugs and crashes, and but yeah, that's basically the similar thing that I got into. And I actually was making my own fan posters before I started Poster Spy, and then it got to be like I was like researching more into it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, maybe I should start like a blog. So Poster Spy actually just started as like a Facebook page. It was literally just like me reposting cool work. And then I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was a website that just had like all of them on it, instead of
good on you,
going
man.
on DeviantArt or going on Behance, or because that was what you had to do. If you wanted to find a cool poster for a film, you had to go on like every different outlet, and usually it would be oversaturated with loads of other stuff as well.
Other stuff.
Yeah, so that was kind of my, what if one thing, search a film, bang, loads of posters, not like loads of other things. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came about. And then, like you said, like having that skill with Photoshop's been really helpful for me as well, especially because I run it on my own. So like when I have to do any advertising materials or anything, like it's all having to be done myself, like setting up the store and setting up ads on the site, like anything. It's really fortunate that I've been able to, know that. Because I'd have just been really struggling if I didn't know any sort of Photoshop at all.
I think if you, like if you work in a visual medium, having some understanding of this stuff is pretty crucial. It's part of your sort of literacy, especially since some of those skills really translate, right? Like Photoshop skills weirdly kind of work in Premiere, and they certainly work in like Illustrator and stuff like that. So like, because I can use Illustrator, but I didn't have a Photoshop 3.0 copy of Illustrator when I was growing up. So like I don't have that real base competency in Illustrator. Like much later in the day, I jumped over to Illustrator at some point to get something done, and I sort of bashed my way through it. And I wish I understood it a little bit better than I do. And over the years of kind of like using it in a hacky kind of way, I've come to understand it better. But yeah, I think it'd be tricky right now to do the things that I do without having competency in Photoshop. Like even doing VFX feedback on I Am Mother, I was able to not just annotate, and that was handy to get in there and circle things and say this, that, and the other. But sometimes I'd do photo comps, like saying it should look more like this, or I'd cut out the main character and reposition the horizon and say like the horizon should actually be here, and then you could send a finished piece of, or a pretty finished looking piece of art back to the VFX company, and they could go, oh, I see it. Like, I get it now. It's not just like a pink line drawn across the image that kind of is a bit tricky for people to get their head around. It's just like more efficient and clear communication. I mean, you found that probably in the feedback.
I was literally just about to say,
doing the posters, is that like somebody would send something to us, and rather than me having to write paragraphs upon paragraphs of what it might and could look like, sometimes it's quicker and more effective for me to just change things in the Photoshop comp and say more like this. Different artists respond differently to that. Some people don't like it. But I think more experienced people, or anybody that's worked professionally, like in a team, knows that everything is a collaboration. Like the end result of the film of I Am Mother, like as great as it is that I get all of the credit, the reality is that it's a pretty deep collaboration with a lot of different people. And so is every VFX shot that comes in, and so is the edit, and so is the script, and everything is a collaboration, really, and you're building on top of each other's work. The best thing in any instance where I send back a Photoshop completely changed poster concept would be to get another one back that says, yes, that, but also maybe this. And then I'd say, yeah, totally that. Or, well, no, yeah, how about that, but also this? And then like you just end up going 5 or 6 steps further than either person could have taken it on their own. That's actually how the script for I Am Mother happened. Michael, the screenwriter, and myself are old friends and long-term collaborators. And part of the reason that our collaboration is so successful is that it's not because we always agree on everything, right? Like it's often that, we disagree about something, and that we are ready and willing to kind of like quite forcefully disagree. The reason that it's worked over so many years of time is that when we disagree, that process creates a sort of unexpected third option that we both agree is better than either of what we were arguing for in the first instance. So it's kind of like that creative cross-pollination that I think creates the most surprising and exciting outcomes. And the same can be true like in poster design or anything like that, where if somebody puts one idea forward and then somebody pluses it and then somebody pluses it again, it literally couldn't have been created without the alchemy of those 2 people, 3 people, or whoever working together to take it to a new place.
So Senya's piece, with the laser title treatment that you ended up doing in the end, was so cool because, we were throwing back ideas with this poster and how this title could look and integrate in, and she did this really beautiful illustration. And then when you sent that title treatment, I was just like, that is so cool. Like, it wasn't something I don't think I thought about or she thought about. So to have that was just like super cool.
I'm a sucker for the sort of like visual double entendre in posters. Like, I don't know where it comes from and why. It's probably like, I think like a lot of people, my first introduction to the alt poster scene and the kind of like real artistry that was available in that world was Ollie Moss, and he was doing these incredible like visual double entendre posters for Star Wars and Rocky and there was an Evil Dead one and a whole series of them. And that really got under my skin. It was like, this is great. Like, it rewards people that have seen the movie. It rewards people that pay closer attention. And usually it's like that combination of 2 unlikely things that results in something that you've never seen before. It's like, by thinking that way, like, how can I combine 2 elements? You get a new thing. I don't know if somebody's done title type in lasers before, but like felt original to me, and it came from thinking about it that way. It's like, I'm always looking for a way to have 2 things happening at the same time. We did for one of the official posters, we worked with this great outfit called Phantom City, who do a ton of incredible posters as well. And they submitted this fantastic illustration of Mother's face. And again, I was just looking for like ways to do 2 things at once. And maybe it had the crack lens already. It certainly would have been something that, it did have the crack lens, because, that's sort of a bit of visual storytelling. It's like, okay, something's wrong with this robot. Like, something's happened to this robot. What's going on here? But I was like, we could hide a a message in the cracked lens, and that's where the sort of like baby in the cracked lens came from. You know, I don't know, it felt distinctive and fun to me, and it just is that little something extra that rewards the viewer. So I'm kind of always looking for those opportunities, and I was grateful that, you know, that this incredible piece that had already been painted, the artist was willing to have it plussed in that way, you know. But I think that the interaction between those things helps take it beyond being art and turns it into a poster, because I don't think we really had a title treatment for that.
No,
for that design at that point. It was just an incredible illustration of Clara, our lead actress, and it, you know, really did capture the atmosphere of the film in a cool way and in a fresh way that I hadn't seen before. But hopefully plussing it with the title treatment kind of pushes it over into poster territory in a way I think is cool.
I think most, if not all, the artists were actually very like accommodating and happy to have their work, you know, illustrated on and noted on, and like, how about this here, how about this there. And like you said, it sped up the process so much more, because if you'd have had to have typed out every detail of how you think it could have looked, it's just so difficult then for someone else to actually get that right when they try and redo that.
That can sometimes work to your advantage, right? Because there's a level of like interpretation of like, what the hell does he mean when he says, you know, do this, that, and the other, and make it a bit more pink, like, and so that can result in an unexpected result, even for the person that provided the note. It's like, that's not really what I meant, but actually that's cool.
That's true.
But not always, because that dissonance like can create problems where the other person can't see what the hell it is that you're talking about, and they either don't do it, or they don't like it or don't get it, or they do it and they do it half-heartedly and they don't do it excitedly, and thus they then don't bring their own stamp and energy and intention to it. They just like are going through the motions to try and address feedback that they don't really understand. That's actually the worst thing in most cases. I mean, I love the credit that I'm getting for adding value to the process, and I'd like to think that I did, but there are certainly a number of instances, and it's often the case where you're working with somebody and they just think so differently and have instincts that are so separate to my own that, like, you know, I'd hate to take even a lick of credit for a couple of these artworks, because they are spectacular. I mean, I know you had a sort of separate process with some of these guys and ladies that I might not have been a part of, and maybe there was a ton of back and forth before I saw it. But I'm thinking about like Alexander, if I'm saying that right.
Like yes,
his artworks, you know, like I may well have come in with a tiny bit of feedback on the smallest of things, and he was kind enough to present us different options for like color schemes in the background and stuff. So it was nice to feel included on that level. But the base idea there is so inspired, you know, and despite having spent hours upon hours like coming up with poster ideas for this movie to make the actual poster, that this idea that's in this artwork that's so distinctive and I think fun and cool was never one that even crossed my mind. So like, that's amazing. And likewise Alberto's, you know, Alberto has a bit of his house style, like this device I think he's used elsewhere, but I don't think it's made as much thematic sense as it does in the context of I Am Mother, like in previous iterations. I mean, that I'm biased, of course, but this is like a perfect encapsulation of some themes in the movie. I'm a big fan of this. I think, and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. The poster that Alberto did with the sort of Russian doll effect is a really cool concept, and plays with the idea that I think a lot of viewers will be having with the movie, and like, you know, trying to figure out what's really going on like a deeper level. And Alexander's, like you said, like his art is very much influenced by like the Polish school of posters, which was a pretty big movement, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Where a lot of that stuff was very sort of metaphorical and really played with like imagery and warping things and really weird sort of stuff. So when he sent me this, I think I don't even remember if he sent me a concept. I can't remember, or if he just sent this straight off the bat like a
I think
sketch.
he sent 3 content. I mean, I don't know where this came in the process, but you shared with me 3 ideas from Alexander. And they were
It
all
was so
amazing.
long ago now,
That was
I'm
one of the
just like-
hardest parts of the process, was trying to choose which of those 3 awesome ideas we should pursue. I mean, I think this one was definitely out in front, but I was very sad that those 2 other ideas will never see the light of day. Well, I mean, I love in Adam's one that sort of spirit of rebellion. Like there's sort of, it feels almost like it's spray painted on a wall, and it kind of captures that sense that daughter is going to be fighting back against this oppressive force in her life, and you know, the lasers having this sort of Sacred Heart religious double entendre thing going on makes her feel like the chosen one in that quest, but also, you know, in danger too. It's great. You know, the sort of use of the mother's eye as a halo around her head as well is really striking. I think, you know, you can tell Adam's been doing this for a long time and knows what he's doing. So the cool thing about Dustin's poster is that it was actually like, it started off as fan art. Like this was one of the first things that came through, I think, you know, like in the weekend after the film premiered, or certainly shortly thereafter, and was kind of like the eye-opening moment for me about like how this movie was inspiring like really legitimate artists. And the other funny thing about this is that the writer and I had talked about this exact design concept, you know, maybe not rendered in exactly this way, but like really riffing on the kind of Mecha Madonna idea, and like referencing the religious imagery and this sort of like cradling the robot, cradling the baby. It was kind of like ripped straight from our imagination without any consultation. Like it was just, Dustin was just poking around in my head without my permission.
He actually uploaded that, you know, and I hadn't seen the film, and I think his poster was actually the first sort of thing I'd seen about it, quite honestly. When he uploaded
That's
that to
how
the
they're meant
site,
to work, right? You see that
yeah.
and you go, what's this about? Let me find out more.
So the thing that I really like about Nan's piece is this, she really brings her style and unique sort of artistic flair to her piece. And there's this moment in the film, which, I mean, I'm going to spoiler tag this. There's this moment in the film, you know, which is like a turning point, and Mother's kind of left on her own, and we don't really know what's going to happen after this point in the film. And I think for a lot of fans, this is like a big moment. And when they're watching it, they kind of go, oh, where's this going?
What's
now?
coming next, baby?
What's coming next? Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that, like, there's something about this that feels like fairy tale like to me. I mean, it's that sort of like nursery rhyme picture book aesthetic again that Marin has going on as well. But the sort of seeing the bunker through the forest as though it's like a Hansel and Gretel cottage, like in the woods or something. And then the big bad in the doorway in the distance. It definitely ties into that sort of fairy tale aesthetic. Which actually was something that Michael, the screenwriter, and I talked about in the conception of the film, that in some ways daughter is like the princess in the tower, or she's Rapunzel or whatever, that's held captive by the big bad witch, and she's set free by the outsider that comes knocking on the door in the middle of the night. So it's nice to see that reflected back in artwork like this, you know, like you know, it's not something that everybody picks up on, but you know, you certainly can see it in this artwork. Vance is like a bit of a legend in his own right. The cool thing about what Vance did, which very few artists I think are willing to do as a first port of call, is this sort of collage technique, right? Where it just takes more work. There's more things to draw, and then you go to the effort of drawing something and you shrink it down real small and stick it in the background. But this is the poster format of my childhood. Like this is what movie posters look like when I would go to the movies growing up. So it's immensely satisfying to like go, okay, shit, this is like, I made a real movie.
Yeah, I think that's actually what really appealed to me about Vance. Is I got in touch with him and I just said, hey, you know, are you interested in doing a poster for I Am Mother? And he was just like straight on it, like, yes, that'd be so cool. And he sent me this concept like a week or two later, and I was just like, you don't need to do no more, man. This is it. like God's gonna love it. This is cool. I love it. And I don't really think there was much back and forth. I think your only sort of feedback was about the text. I think everything else was like spot on, right?
Yeah, I think there was like an Easter egg / spoiler that was maybe hidden in the sort of small details dotted all over the image, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can let that one slip through. Like, you know, there's rewarding the fans, and then there's just like straight up spoiling spoiling the movie for those who haven't seen it yet. So I erred on the side of, I want them to work as posters too. Like, they're not just rewards for people that have already seen the movie. Like, they are designed to pull in new viewers too. And I just thought that was one little bit too far. But if that's all of the feedback that you're giving on a poster, it tells you that something pretty cool's going on, if you can get lost in that kind of level of minutia.
I mean, I've wanted to work with Vance for like years. So Vance is actually one of the first artists that has kind of got me into this whole thing as well. And I remember I actually have his Aliens poster. He's done, you know, you mentioned earlier how you love the Aliens film. You should check that poster out because it's good. But that was like one of the first posters.
Yeah, splash it up on screen for us now.
Yeah,
so
well, there it is.
Go and
there
look
it is.
There's
Baz Kelly's Aliens poster. But it's a really amazing piece, and it was one of the first pieces I bought just at a gallery. Like, there was a gallery show, and he came to the England, and we met, and it was just so cool. And I just bought that poster like straight away. So he's a really cool guy.
That's great.
Maybe we'll get to meet him sometime. Yeah, he's
cool. Fantastic artist too. It's a shame that we're not doing a bloody gallery launch for this thing. I want to be in the UK with you guys and, like, you know, drinking champers and eating canapes, but here I am in hotel quarantine in Sydney. What's cool about Sam's is that, like, this is a classic example of kind of like taking one idea and plussing it with more. Like, I'd always had this image of mother lording over daughter, like hands on her shoulder, as if like directing and steering her life, and then daughter holding the baby, and you kind of got this 3 generations thing going on. But there's something about the way that Sam's illustrated it so graphically and immediately that, like, it really arrests attention. Like, the performance that he's captured from daughter tells you so much of like what's going on in this scene. And then, of course, the scene itself, like the greater context, that feeling of like danger, and it's pretty palpable when you're being enveloped by red smoke. Like, I think it's a striking image, and kind of what Sam does best.
I think as well, what really strikes me about this poster is the detail he's put into the actual, like, the suit. I mean, I don't know how close you've like zoomed in on that, but I'm going to throw that up on screen, because the amount of detail that's in like the arms and just the general suit is just amazing. I can't imagine how much time he spent on that, but you can really tell that he really went to town on that outfit, on that suit. So,
I think that this is the poster that the crew at Weta Workshop who built the suit, this is the one that they'll be putting up on the walls of Weta Workshop in New Zealand, because it really does celebrate the suit in a way that is commensurate with the amount of detail and effort and energy that they put into making the physical prop look as real as it does. Marin is fun. Like, I love Marin. She's an illustrator out of New Zealand, and this is, I think, the one contribution that I made, which was connecting you with Marin. I forget how I first discovered Marin, but she actually helped me out with a wrap gift for everybody involved in the film. We put together a picture book that was like it was called Mother Makes a Movie and Teaches the Alphabet. And she did 26 something drawings, one for each letter of the alphabet. And each letter celebrated a different crew member. So you're seeing a snippet here of some of the artwork that was in the book, like the one of Hillary fly kicking Mother in the face, that was in the book and was a part of the gift that actually went to Hillary. There were other illustrations that you're not seeing, unfortunately, but I mean, every single one of them had this sort of like childlike energy and enthusiasm and innocence that I thought was this great contrast to the tone of the film, and of course tied to the idea that Mother is like teaching daughter. So it's like teaching the alphabet and then celebrating each of the crew members. And they were just too good to stay within the pages of that book and seen by that very small audience. So it's nice to get the chance to finally share them with you here. I'm remembering the story of how I met Marin. It was sort of similar to the way that I discovered Dustin. The one picture here, I'm not sure if it ended up making it in the collection, but it's in front of me on the PDF I'm looking at, is this beautiful black and white illustration of mother and daughter and baby. And she just posted that as a fan of the movie, and I instantly became a fan of hers. So I reached out to her and asked her to help me with this wrap gift kind of idea. So look at that, the power of the internet, man. You know, and the virtuous circle keeps spinning. You know, like you make something that inspires somebody else, and then the thing that they made inspires the person that inspired you, and around we go. I'm just glad that Marin's getting this chance to get her artwork in front of more people. I'm already working with Marin on something else, so cool. She's a very talented person and a very lovely person too, which is always a nice combo.
Yeah, her artwork was great. When you first sent me it, similarly, I'd not actually seen any of her work before. But when you sent it, I was like, this is so cool. It's just such a cute, interesting rendition of the film that we haven't seen in any of the other posters. And as soon as you said, do you reckon we could do something with her? I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to, release these. And we're doing them, they're like little 5x5 inch, basically like postcard posters, which you can either get as a set or individually. So that's really cool.
Well, this is the great thing too about this range of artworks and the way that they interpret the material differently. But there's something really, it sounds cheesy to say, but there is something for everybody, in as much that if you don't live in a giant place and you can't have a huge poster up on the wall, or it doesn't suit your aesthetic to have a ominous looming image from your favorite film, there's a chance here to do something different, to have something smaller that exists within your workspace and connects you to the memory of that film, but doesn't necessarily have to skew the way your environment looks. These are the artworks that my wife would let us have anywhere. These could go in the kids' room. When we have a baby, these could be in the nursery. They could be in the living room. But a few of these other posters are probably a little too confronting for our general living space. I can put whatever I want in my office, and trust me, I do. But I try not to turn the entire house into an I Am Mother poster gallery.
Although I bet you'd love to.
yeah, I'll try. They'll keep creeping their way out the door. There are certain things that I just have to get off my chest, like ideas that had come to me, and I would love to see them converted to a poster format. This wasn't something that I could do on my own. For all of my love of poster design and my confidence in Photoshop, I never picked up a pen and learned how to draw. I can't really draw. I'm pretty decent at faking it at times in Photoshop, but really fundamentally I can't draw. So I basically took this idea for a poster to Tim from Finn, the visual effects company that created the visual effects version of Mother that's in the movie at the times when we use a VFX Mother, and said, I want to do this poster. Is it something that you can help me out with? And that robot that you're seeing kind of turned to stone is actually the 3D model of Mother that's in the movie. And he's gone and created the cloth sim for the blanket and turned that to stone as well, and then created this surrounding environment. But I just came to him with this image. There's a classic statue of Madonna and Child. I'm going to blank on the name now suddenly, but it's this sort of like white marble in black surrounds. I'll send you the picture if you care to flash it up on screen. And I was like, this is very much the austere aesthetic in my mind that would suit this movie. The grandiosity of Mother's plan and like what she's trying to do, and she is inadvertently a god. She has kind of taken on the mantle of recreating the world in her image, if only in her kind of moral worldview. And she's omnipotent. She's everywhere. She has the power to create life. Like she has, without being a religious entity, she has sort of become a religious figure. And so, I thought that building an edifice to her in this way would result in a cool picture. So I was like, let's just do it. And with Tim's help, I was able to, and with Poster Spy's help, we're able to get it out into people's homes.
I'm just really excited to see all these come out and just see the reaction from the fans. I think that's going to be the really cool thing for me, because we've been working on this for like a year. This has been like a really long thing. So it's finally going to be cool to release these and just see, how the fans react and how people react to all these films. And we're going to see all the artists, share it to their own fans. It's going to be like this domino effect of like seeing all these posters around. So that's actually really exciting for me, and I'm sure it is for you as well. Yeah, absolutely. I'm pumped. Well, the posters go on sale on the 25th of January. So 2 years from when it was premiered at Sundance. Am I right? That was a good night. And I hope that this year's 25th of January will be just as exciting. Yeah, well, I think now with this release, it's going to be. Those posters are going to be available from the Poster Spy store on the 25th of January. And yeah, we just hope you guys love them as much as we've enjoyed making them, and well, yeah, we love them. So I hope you do. You guys do as well.
Please pick up a poster. Stop by my Instagram page. I'll do a Q&A, like, you know, with additional insights about the poster creating process and the making of the movie. Yeah, I'm just so excited to have been a part of this poster spy experiment, and that we've made great artworks that I think warrant a place on fans' walls.
Everything I do is to protect you.